Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf HaYomi, Maseches Zevachim Daf Nun Ches. We begin a brand new perek, the sixth perek Kodesh HaKadoshim. So as we have learned many times, where do we do the shechita of a Kodesh HaKadoshim, the karbanos that occupy the highest tier of Kedusha, the Oila, the Chatos, the Yasham? The shechita and the Kabbalah as well is meant to be done in the Tzafain area of the Azara. So if you're entering from east and facing west, entering and facing towards the Heichal and the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So as you enter, Tzafain will be to your right and Daraim will be to your left. The shechita is meant to take place on the right side of the Azara. Now what happens if he does it on the Mizbeach itself? Ideally, shechita is meant to take place on the floor of the Azara itself, next to the Mizbeach, on the north side of the Mizbeach, between the Mizbeach and the north wall of the Azara. What if you did the shechita on the Mizbeach itself? Now Taisus explains that Minat Torah would be lichatchila, no problem. As we learn in the Gemara, v'zavachta alav, and we learn alav means literally on the Mizbeach itself. But he says, the Mishnah sounds like it's after the fact. It's not really recommended. And that's because of kavod issues, because we prefer not taking the animal on the Mizbeach. It might tend to its needs on the Mizbeach. In any case, but that's what happened. Kodesh HaKadoshim sheshachtan b'reish HaMizbeach. The animal wandered onto the Mizbeach, and he did the shechita on the Mizbeach itself. Rabbi Yossi Omer, no problem. Ki'ilu nishchatu b'tzafon, we treat it as though the shechita took place in the right location, in the tzafon of the Azara, no problem. Actually, the Gemara will tell us that incidentally, according to Rabbi Yossi, the Mizbeach itself was totally situated on the right of the Mizbeach in the tzafon area. So it works out very well. But that wasn't really the reason why he allows us to go through. It's based on an understanding of the pasuk later, which allows even an oila, which needs tzafon, to be done on the Mizbeach itself. Rabbi Yossi Rida Omer, no. He says, look, it depends on which side of the Mizbeach. It's split, so to speak, into two parts. The right side and the left side. The right side, which is the north side of the Mizbeach, and the left side of the Mizbeach, which is the south side of the Mizbeach. And again, he learns it from a pasuk that we split the Mizbeach, so to speak, into two sections. The right side is kosher for oila, the left side is not kosher for oila. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda Mechatzi Mizbeach l'dorim, on the south side and the left side, just for clarity, visualization purposes, let's just refer to right and left. So again, as you enter the Azara, from east towards west, to your right is tzafon, to your left is darim. So according to him, the Mizbeach likewise is sort of split into two virtual sections. Mechatzi Mizbeach l'dorim, the left side of the Mizbeach is kedarim. Mechatzi Mizbeach l'tzafon, ketzafon, the right side of the Mizbeach has enough tzafon and is kosher for Kodesh HaKadoshim. Rabbi Asir Rabbi Yochanan. So Rashi quotes Rabbi Yochanan that you meant to know, and he was makabel this from his teachers. It wasn't based on the halacha of the Mishnah, just a general fact to know. Omer hoy Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi's personal opinion was, in terms of situation of the Mizbeach, where was the Mizbeach located? Kulei Mizbeach but tzafon koy. You meant to know that the Mizbeach was totally on the tzafon side of the Azara on the right side. So if you sort of run a virtual, dividing line, running straight up the middle of the Azara from east to west, the right side being tzafon, the left side being darim, the Mizbeach was where? It was completely situated on the right side of that line. Now the question is, so when he did the shechita on the Mizbeach itself, Rabbi Yossi says, well, it's as though it was literally in tzafon. If the Mizbeach was in tzafon, you're standing in tzafon. Umay ki'ilu. Why does he bother saying ki'ilu? It's as though it was. It is tzafon. The answer is because it's not the ultimate. It's not the ideal. It's on the Mizbeach. It's meant to be next to the Mizbeach on the floor, right? Perhaps I can think, we require al yerech ha-Mizbeach tzafon, as the pasuk says. Yerech is the thigh, the leg, next to, on the floor, next to. Well, you don't have that if it's on the Mizbeach. Kamash Malon, that's why he uses the word ki'ilu. It's just as good as the bottom. So on top is acceptable as though it was next to the Mizbeach on the floor. Amalei Rabbi Zerel Arbasi. Now he understood that, the previous statement by Rav Asi, quoting Rabbi Yochanan regarding Rabbi Yosef's opinion as to the exact placement of the Mizbeach, was based on the fact that he, on the conclusion that it was in fact B'tzafon, was based on the fact that he allowed the shchita on the Mizbeach itself. Apparently the Mizbeach was situated in Tzafon. That's what he thought. Elamei Ataf, that's the case. So you're drawing conclusions in terms of placement, in terms of location of Mizbeach based on the halacha of the Mishnah. What about the next opinion stated in the Mishnah? Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, who says, depends on which side of the Mizbeach. The right side is treated like tzafon, the left side like dar. Do you mean to say that according to him, that's also a reflection of his position regarding location of Mizbeach, that in fact he holds that it was straddling the border, the Mizbeach was half on this side and half on that side? That's incorrect. Actually, we know that Rabbi Yossi holds that Mizbeach was completely on the left side on Darim. Elamei, according to your analogy, you're linking the Halacha in the Mishnah to defining the location of Mizbeach. Based on this analogy, will you propose that the Mizbeach was in fact half and half? The Chetzi b'tzafon v'chetzi b'darim? As per him allowing the right side of the Mizbeach for kachi, not the left side? But you yourself told us in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that according to Rabbi Yehuda, the entire Mizbeach was on the left side. Ma'idi Rabbi Yehuda, even he would agree, Shem Shachtan Kenegden Bakarka Psula. When does he allow the carbon? That's only for Shechted on the Mizbeach, but for Shechted Kenegden Bakarka, beneath the Mizbeach, on the floor beneath. We'll see in a second what that means. Psula, it's not accepted. It's not kosher. Apparently, because beneath the Mizbeach is Darim. Not half and half. Amalesi says you're right. I never meant to link one thing to the other. The allowance of the Mishnah to shecht on the Mizbeach isn't related to location of Mizbeach. It so happens to be that according to Rabbi Yossi, Mizbeach was in Tzafon on the right side. According to Rabbi Yehuda, Mizbeach was B'darim. That's not why. That's not the basis for their disagreement in the Mishnah. Amalei says, Hachi Amar B'ich meant like this. Shnei Mikrecha Darshu. In terms of explaining their disagreement, in the case of the Mishnah, who he shechted on the Mizbeach, that's based on their differences in understanding a pasuk and explaining a pasuk. Typically, olav means next to, but here it means literally we're learning it as on top. You can do the shchita. Zevachim means the shchita of the oila and the shlamim on the Mizbeach. And each Tana drew his own conclusions in terms of understanding the Mishnah. And hence, their disagreement in our Mishnah, in understanding the pasuk, and hence their disagreement in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yossi says, look, the pasuk describes him as doing an oila on the Mizbeach, anywhere. Kulei loila, entire Mizbeach, right, left, center, is suitable for the oila. And for the shlamim as well. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi the Savar, he says, no, it's half and half. The right side is for the oila only. Sorry, the right side only is for the oila. And the left side is not suitable for the oila, only for the shlamim. As per their discussion in our Mishnah. So clearly the Mizbeach, the top of the Mizbeach, has its own status. Not necessarily related to location of Mizbeach in terms of the topography of the surrounding area. The Mizbeach is a makim of carbon, right? So despite it perhaps not even being situated in the right part of the Azorah, it can still be suitable for Shchita v'Kodesh HaKadoshim. In fact, according to basically the entire surface is okay, according to Rabbi Yehuda, half of it. Why? Why only half? So basically, Rabbi Yehuda continues. He says, if you're going to claim that the pasuk meant that the entire surface is okay for the oila, then why even mention the shlamim? It's obvious. If it's good for the oila, which requires a more holy place, a tzafa, and of course for the shlam, which can be done anywhere in the Azorah. If it's good for him, certainly it's good for him, why even mention it? Because if the entire surface is suitable for the oila, then of course for the shlamim, if it's okay for the oila, the entire top of the mizbech for the oila is okay, goes without saying that it's good for the shlamim. Why even mention it? Apparently, in order to split. Half for the oila only, half for the shlamim. And of course the shlamim can be done anyway, but it means to say only half is kosher for the oila, and not the entire thing. Now the other shita says no, itzrich. I'll tell you why the Torah mentioned the shlamim. Really, the entire surface is okay for the oila, but I still wouldn't know the shlamim automatically. I can't really draw my own conclusions. Perhaps I can suggest that this allowance was only for the oila because, it gets crowded sometimes down there on the floor, because the oila has a very small, limited area. Only it's suffering, right? Perhaps I would say, by the oila, since we're short space, the Torah gives that extra allowance. Okay, bring it on the mizbeach if you need to. Aval shlamim deloy dochek le'mokim, but a shlamim which has endless, limitless territory. Anyway, in the Azorah is kosher for the shlamim. Perhaps we don't allow him on the mizbeach. Kamash Mulan. That's why the Torah wanted to point it out. Look, I let the shlamim on there as well. But the purpose wasn't to split the mizbeach 50-50. No, really, the oila is suitable anywhere on the mizbeach. Okay, so let's just recap the halacha in the Mishnah. Shchita that took place on the mizbeach itself, of a kodesh kadoshim. Rabbi Yossi says it's fine, despite it not being al yerach mizbeach on the next to it on the floor. It's okay. We have a pasuk with Zevachim olav as oila yisecha. The entire mizbeach is okay for the oila, and certainly for the shlam. I don't think perhaps the shlamim is different because he has endless territory. No, Torah sought to allow him on the mizbeach as well by saying v'shlamech. That's Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yehuda, however, disagrees. He says v'zavacht olav es oila yisecha v'shlamech, indicating it's half and half. The oila is only suitable on the north side of the mizbeach, but it's not because the mizbeach itself is situated straddling the border half and half. No. It certainly was actually enduring, but the allowance is based on this special pasuk. The top surface of the mizbeach is suitable even for Kodesh Kadosh. Gufa, let's go back to the halacha of Rav Asman Rabbi Yechanan. Moedi Rabbi Yisrael, even Rabbi Yisrael who allows shchita on parts of the mizbeach, but beneath it is not allowed. He agrees Shem Shocht and connect the Makarka Psulis if he did the shchita of the Kodesh Kadoshim on the ground underneath, it's no good. What does he mean? My connect the Makarka. What does that term mean? Where is that? Perhaps the steps sort of going up into the mizbeach, the yisoid, the foundation, the soiv, the walkway, these sort of steps, making their way up to the mizbeach surface. So he did the shchita on those ledges. What's wrong with that? How you go for mizbeach? That's the actual mizbeach structure itself. Why would that not be suitable? Void. Furthermore, why are you calling it my connecting bekarka, which sounds like it's on the floor below? Perhaps he means David mecheles bekarka v'shachet bo. He made these underground subterranean tunnels underneath the mizbeach, and that's where he did the shchita, and that's what he's ruling out. Well, then the whole mizbeach would become puzzle. How could you build a mizbeach on these subterranean cavities? It wouldn't be a mizbeach. You need solid ground beneath it. V'atan, you have a brayse of mizbeach adoma tasel. Make me a mizbeach adoma of earth. Shem mechur ba'adoma. Has to be totally connected with on solid ground. Shlo yivneno lo yal gabi mecheles. Lo yal gabi keep it. You can't build a mizbeach on these tunnels, on these arches. That's impossible. It's Tzricha de Batzri B'tzuri. Oh, he must be speaking where, someone's Mizbeach was shaved away, chipped away. And now he's going to shecht on the floor of the former Mizbeach, structure. That doesn't work. So either you're in the right place, meaning you're in the tzafon of the Azara, or you're on the Mizbeach. But if you decide to take away some of the Mizbeach and shecht over there, it doesn't work, because it's not really tzafon, right? Like we said, according to this shita of Rabbi Yosef, the Mizbeach was in Darim. So the floor beneath the Mizbeach would not be suitable. It's Darim, it's the wrong side, it's the left of the Azara. Okay, so bottom line is, according to him, either you're standing and doing the shechita on the right side of the Azara, which is truly tzafon, or you're on the Mizbeach. As per the pasuk of Zevachim Olven, despite the Mizbeach being situated in Darim, on top, special pass, you're okay. Okay, now let's just refer again to the first statement in the Gemara today. Amar Ba'asim Rabbi Yechanan, Oimer hoy Rabbi Yosi kule Mizbeach b'tzafin kol. You meant to know, according to Rabbi Yosi, where was the Mizbeach situated? As we're going to see in the next couple of dafim, there were several opinions in terms of the exact placement of the Mizbeach. Was it in the tzafin on the right of the Azar? Was it on the left in the Darim? Was it half and half, straddling the dividing line? According to Rabbi Yechanan, Rabbi Yosi's opinion is Mizbeach was completely on the right of the Azar, on the right of that virtual halfway mark. It was situated in Safa. Amar Rabbi Zera. So Rabbi Zera, who heard this halacha, heard this this fact, says, look, I bet you we're going to find it somewhere in a Mishnah. Efshar is Rabbi Yechanan. Can it be that Rabbi Yechanan's assertion in terms of Rabbi Yosi's placement of the Mizbeach b'tzafin is correct, and we can't find it in a Mishnah? There must be some source somewhere in a Mishnah, somewhere in the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, indicating as such. V'lo tanin lo mastisa. We're not going to find it in a Mishnah. Rashi says, "V'lo tanin lo shum remez b'Mishnah b'Shisha Sidarim." We can't find any sort of hint, any remez, any indication throughout the Shisha Sidarim of Mishnayos. We have to find it. Okay, I'm going to do my homework. Nofak dak v'ashch. He went out, searched, and discovered a source that, in fact, Rabbi Yosi places the Mizbeach in Safa. This is not we have a Mishnah Maseches Talmud. Okay, when they set up the ma'arachos, these were the firewood arrangements on the Mizbeach. This not we learn in the Mishnah Beiruru Misham. They went to the firewood chamber, and they chose good-looking blocks of wood. Beiruru Misham Atzet Te'eno Yafim, nice fig wood. Rashi says why specifically fig wood. He brings the medrash. Shabai Haisa Takon al Adam Arishain Shenemar Vayaslum Chagoris. Just as Adam Arishain and Chava used the fig tree material to cover themselves, likewise we're going to use the wood of this fig tree, which is meant for takana, meant for kapara, to generate the fires on the Mizbeach to consume the karbonates for atonement. So they took these atzeteinu yafim, the sade maruchash neshok toiris. Now they were up to setting up the second firewood arrangement, meant to supply coals for eventual burning of the ketores in the internal. So here they're setting it up on the external Mizbeach and the Azara, outside the Heichel, which will supply the coals, which will be transported into the internal Mizbeach, the golden Mizbeach in the Heichel, upon which they will offer the ketores, the incense, right? This was the second. The primary fire was for the carbon tamid, etc. This was a secondary, smaller fire. Now, where was this fire set up? Keneged Keren Maravas Droimis, near the southern corner. So again, if we're entering the Azara from the east, facing the west, facing the Heichel, we sort of encounter the Mizbeach in front of us. And this is going to be at the corner closer to the west, over to the south. So it's going to be the far left corner of the Mizbeach. But you should know, it wasn't sitting at the actual corner to the left of the Mizbeach, right? It was moved over to the right a bit, towards Tzafon. How much? 4 ames. Why exactly was it situated in that exact spot? We'll see later in the Gemara. And the point will be that it's meant to be directly opposite the entry to the Heichal. Right? So again, if you're entering the Azara from the east, facing west, facing the Heichal, you're facing the entry to the Heichal. Mizbeach is over here. Right? So that's the Tzafon, that's the Doren, that's the Marav, that's the Mizrach. And this fire is going to be set up on the far left corner, west, south, but moved a little bit to the right, towards north, so that it faces the entry of the Heichal. How much coals do they have to generate? How much firewood would they place there? So an estimated, and they estimated that it would produce, it would supply them with 5 sa'ah of coals, which were needed for this purpose. On Shabbos, they needed more coals. They estimated that it would generate 8 sa'ah of coals. Why did they need more coals on Shabbos? Because it was an extra hakrava, 2 spoonfuls of spices, which were removed from the shulchan and the heichal. When they would switch the breads every Shabbos, so they would remove the spices as well and burn it on the external mizbeach. On that second fire, setup, so it served a dual purpose. It would be used to burn on it the lavoina and used to supply the coal, so needed more material. Now, umay simana, what's the significance of that location? Why exactly in that corner and 4 amas off the corner? How do you explain all that? So it's going to be sort of a build-up, and ultimately it's going to substantiate our initial assertion that according to Rabbi Yossi, the Mizbeach was actually placed exactly the way we had dictated it was. It was totally on the right side of the virtual halfway divider mark, running running east-west along the middle of the Azara. So the Mizbeach was totally to the right of that, hugging that line. Right, it was right on the right of that line, which would substantiate the exact location of this fire, in line with the requirement of having it directly opposite the entry of the Heichal. So what's the significance of this location? Rabbi Yossi, because this Mishnah is Rabbi Yossi. Hence, this precise placement of the fire. What's the connection with Rabbi Yossi? This time we find that Rabbi Yossi himself speaks about the requirement of having the coals burning directly in full view of the Heichal entry. Rabbi Yossi Yomer, Zeh Simon. Okay, the following should be a rule, a formula that you meant to know. Kolanita b'fnim, it almost sounds like a riddle. Anything that's taken, that will be taken from b'fnim, from the interior, from the Heichal, linosim rachutz, with the intention of applying it outside on the external mizbeach. We'll see in a minute what this means. So where exactly do you deliver it? At your closest access point. As soon as you exit the Heichal, the first point that you encounter, boom, that's where you put it. You put it as close as you could, without any closer. It means to say the closest access point, closest spot. Likewise, things which are taken from the external mizbeach, with the intent of delivering them inside on the internal mizbeach. From where do you take that? From the closest point again. You take it from the closest, without any closer, which means to say the closest point to the entry of the Heichal. Okay, so it works both ways. When you're delivering something from the Heichal to the external mizbeach, you put it at the first available spot. Likewise, when you're taking from the external mizbeach to take inside, you take it from the closest point you can find. So what is this referring to? Material that's taken from the inside out. What is that? What exactly is that? Are we speaking about the leftover bloods? After you finished applying the dam of the internal carbon chatas, let's say, right? On the mizbeach hapnimi, on the pareches, leftovers are meant to be poured on the external mizbeach. So you go outside the heichal, and the first available opportunity, the first encountering of the yesod, of the foundation, that's where you put it. On the western facing yesod, which you greet first. Well, we already know that from a pasuk. It's obvious. Behed yuksibu, it clearly says, you pour the extras on the yesod, foundation, the external mizbeach, which is facing the oil, facing the heichal. The western facing yesod. It's a pasuk. V'su, next point that he mentioned was kolanita b'chutz. Anything that's taken from the external mizbeach to be delivered inside. Where do you take it from? The closest point. Ma'inu. What is that referring to? Let's assume the coals needed on Yom Kippur to be taken inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim where he puts the Ketores. Right? And the point will be, you take it from the western facing side of the Mizbeach, the closest to the Heichel. Again, obviously, it's a pasuk. We have a clear pasuk about that. The pasuk continues. Facing Hashem, facing the Mara, facing the west. Again, it's a pasuk. We don't need a new halacha for that. Apparently, he's speaking about something which is a bit obscure, not known, which is as follows. Ella rather kolanito b'fnim l'nosen b'chutz. The material that he's taking from the heichel to be delivered on the mizbech hachitza. What is that? Shnei bazicha lavoina shalechem aponim. The 2 spoonfuls of spice, which are taken out on a weekly basis with the lechem aponim, and that's burnt on the mizbech hachitza. The point is, burn it as close as possible. The first corner that you encounter. Right. So when you're exiting the heichel, what's the first corner you meet? Western. Southern corner, as we explained. And that's where the fire is ready and waiting. How do we know that it's meant to be there? The Gamri Mishirayim, because he learns it from Shirayim, which is meant to be poured at the closest point. Likewise, burning of the Bazichim. As per the second part of his statement, Hanital B'chutz L'nos Mifnim, material which is taken from the Mizbeh HaChitzen to be delivered inside, you take it from the closest point. Those are the Gecholim D'chol Yoyma V'Yoyma, a daily dose of coals, placed on the Mizbeach HaPnimi in anticipation of the Ketores arriving and placed on those coals. How do we know? You take it from the closest point of the Mizbeach, the Gamran, the Gecholim, Shal Yom HaKippurim. We derive this from the halacha of the Gecholim and Yom Kippur, which we have a pasuk telling us you take it from the closest point, likewise, these coals as well. Okay, now that would explain the precise location of that pile of wood, that fire, right off the corner, so that's close enough and in full view of the Pesach HaHeichel. Right? It needs to be Lifnei Hashem, unobstructed, directly opposite the Pesach HaHeichel. Now let's analyze further and try to pinpoint why, in fact, it needed to be exactly there, at the west-south corner, but not the actual corner, 4 amas off the corner to the right. Only that would qualify. Why? Now we have mentioned that there were several opinions in terms of placement of the Mizbeach. Where was Mizbeach built? On the left, on the right, in the middle? Let's go through all the options and try to figure out Rabbi Yosef's opinion. What does he hold? If the Mizbeach is totally in Darim, so again, let's, just for clarity, perhaps let's shift to right and left. Soften us to the right, as you enter the Azora from coming in from the east, facing the west. Soften us to your right, Darim is to your left. And there's sort of like a virtual halfway divider running up the Azara from east to west, right at the midpoint. To the right is Tzafon, to the left is Dar. Now, so you're coming in there, you're facing the Ulam Hechel. Ulam was the entry to the Hechel. Now the Hechel itself, we're meant to know, was 20 amas wide. The interior of the Hechel. From wall to wall. The entry to the Hechel was only 10 amas wide. Then you're out in the Ulam area, which had a wider entrance, 20 amas wide. Now we're basically working with the notion that the fire had to be positioned in full view of the entry. We're assuming the entry of the Hechel. But actually we're going to see there's a shita that says that the Ulam is really one and the same territory as the Hechel. It's one entity, one Kedusha. So when we speak about Lifnei Hashem, it need not be in full view of the entry to the Hechel, which is a narrow area, just 10 amas wide. If you're opposite the entry to the Ulam, which was a wider entry, you're also fine. So it gives you more latitude, right? It gives you more wiggle space because it's 20 amas wide. So the question is, where was the Mizbech located? Mizbech was totally on the left of that divider. Now we know that the Mizbeach was 30 amas wide. It was a square, 32 by 32. Now, if we start from the the edge of the Mizbeach, you have the first amma was the Yisoid on the bottom, that first step, that foundation. Then further up on the wall you have another ledge, an amma wide, which was the walkway called a Seivev. Now, when you get to the top of the Mizbeach, you have the Kronis, the corners, which also took up an amma. Then, inside the Kronis, you had another little walkway, an amma wide, for the Kohanim to walk around and set up the Mizbeach. Okay, so those 4 ammas were not really suitable for placement of fires and etc., right? Okay, so knowing that, let's go back to the question. Where was the Mizbeach situated? Totally on the left? So why are we speaking about the fire being 4 ammas to the right? It was on the west, south, right? If we're looking at the Mizbeach from east to west, it would be on the far left corner, and shifted 4 ammas to the right. How's that going to help you? You're way to the left of the entry to the Hechel, or even the Ulam. The fire can't be situated there. Fire has to be Lifnei Hashem. You got to be at least 20-something ammas off the left towards the right to get you lined up with the... needs to be actually 27 ammas to the right of that left wall. The Mizbeach was situated to the left of that divider. So to get yourself lined up with the Hechel's door, you have to move over 27 ammas. Mizbeach was 32 ammas, right? You have to be 27 over from the left side in order to be considered opposite the Pesach HaHechel. Because only the 5 ammas to the far right of the Mizbeach was situated opposite the Hechel. You have to be 27 over. 4 is not enough. Now, perhaps he holds that the Ulam and the Hechel is one territory, considered one entity. As long as the fire arrangement was somewhere opposite the entry to the Ulam, you're also fine. Okay, so you don't have to be that far to the right. But way more than 4 ammas. How much do you need? Well, Esrim Retarti Boy Mice, you have to be 22 ammas over. Because now you have 10 amma of the Ulam entry opposite the right side of the Mizbeach. So you have 10 ammas to work with. And the Mizbeach was 32 amas. So you have to shift over 22 to get to that spot. Again, 4 amas is nowhere near enough. So this option doesn't really work. Okay, let's shift to the next option. Maybe he holds that the Mizbeach was situated on the, halfway to the right, halfway to the left of that virtual marker. Half in Saf and half in Darim. He holds that it was half and half. The numbers still don't add up. Because in order to get yourself lined up with the entry to the Heichal, how far off the left corner of the Mizbeach do you have to be? So now counting from the left corner of the Mizbeach, how far to the right do you have to go to meet up with the doorway of the Heichal? 11. Right? Because the halfway mark of the Mizbeach meets the halfway mark of the door of the Heichal. And that's 16 amas into the Mizbeach. And there's only 5 amas of the left side of that door of the Heichal which you are going to meet there. So you need to be 11 amas. To count 11 amas off the left wall of the Mizbeach to get you to the to meet up with the to be opposite the wall of the entry to the Heichal. Chatzri boy meis, you have to bring it over 11 amas. Unless he holds that the doorway of the Ulam qualifies as well. Okay, so you don't have to be that far over, but still way more than 4. Okay, even if we consider the Ulam as part of the Heichal, you're still not opposite the Ulam if you're just 4 amas off the left side of the Mizbeach. You need to be at least 6 amas. Shis boy l'meisi. Right, again, because the Mizbeach is situated right in the middle there. Half the Mizbeach to the left, half to the right. Now the left wall of the Mizbeach is 16 amas off the divider, off the midpoint. And if you look up the Ulam, the entry, left side of the entry to the Ulam ends 10 amas off that divider. So the Mizbeach is 16 amas removed, and the Ulam is 10. So in order to catch up with the Ulam, you have to count 6 amas. Right? Starting from the left corner of the Mizbeach, 6 amas to the right. Now you'll meet up with the Ulam. So again, it's not 4, it's 6. The only option remaining is that in fact Rabbi Yossi holds Mizbeach was totally situated to the right of that halfway marker. It was kuloi b'tzafin, elalav mishum the kasavar kul Mizbeach b'tzafin koi, and now it works out perfectly. How? The Mishnah says that the fire has to be arranged 4 amas to the right of the Darim wall of the Mizbeach. It was to accommodate the unusable areas of the Mizbeach. There was the Yisoid, because when we count 32, it includes all these steps and ledges, which are not really suitable for placement of fires and firewood, right? So that's all it meant. It meant to say, look, don't go past 4 amas. And the reference to 4 amas were Amma Yisoid. The first Amma was the step on bottom, near the floor, the Yisoid. Okay, so you're in 1 Amma. Then you move to your right, another Amma, because of the Amma Soiver. The Amma was the walkway around the Mizbeach. That took up another Amma. V'Amma Makom Kronis. And you have to shift over an Amma to your right to accommodate the corners of the Mizbeach. And finally, V'Amma Makom Ragel Kehanim. The 4th Amma was to accommodate the walkway of the Kehanim. And make sure to have your fire arranged right there, because now you're still somewhat opposite the Heichal doorway, right? Because let's just try to line it up now. The Heichal doorway ended 5 amas to the right of that halfway mark, right? So likewise, on the Mizbeach itself, whose left side started at that halfway mark, if you move to the right, if you're within 5 amas, you're still opposite the Heichal doorway. So make sure you do that. Granted, the first 4 amas are not suitable. But make sure you get your fire going in that 5th amma, where you're on the surface of the Mizbeach, but you're still within the Heichel range. Because if you'll take it further, even a bit more to the right, that's it, you're obstructed. You're no longer in full view of the Heichel entry. You don't have the Pesach of the Heichel. Okay, so this is like a whole build-up here to substantiate, to prove, to find a hint, a remez, and in fact Rabbi Yossi holds. Where was the Mizbeach located? Clearly on the right side of the Azara in the Tzafan. And this was based on Rabbi Yossi's presentation, where he teaches that the fire has to be situated in a manner which allows you to access the coals directly Lifnei Hashem, opposite the Heichel's entry. And assumingly, he's the author of that Mishnah as well, which gives us the exact, precise 4 amma offset location, which corresponds to Mizbeach being B'tzafin. So it's the only way to explain it, right? Omer Rava Barava, who says? It's Rabbi Yossi speaking. I have another theory, which will explain that 4 amma location there, discussed in the Mishnah and Talmud. Hamani Rabbi Yehuda. It could be Rabbi Yehuda speaking, a different shita, who holds that the Mizbeach was actually situated right in the middle, smack in the middle of the Azara. Directly opposite the Heichel, not to the right, not to the left, not in Tzafan, not in Dam, halfway Tzafan, halfway down, right in the middle. Rabbi Yehuda. And still, you can very well explain the Mishnah and Talmud in terms of the precise location of that ma'arach, of that fire, being 4 amas off the edge, as we'll see. The son of Rabbi Yehuda, you should know Mizbeach was dead center. Memutza v'oimid be'emtza Azara. Right in the middle of the Azara. The Mizbeach, as we know, was 30 amas wide, which was exactly opposite the Heichel and its walls, because the interior of the Heichel was 20 amas, but the walls on either side, 6 amas on either side, total of 32. Beautiful. So the Mizbeach, which was 32, was directly opposite the Heichel structure, which was also 32. And the Mizbeach, of course, was 30 amas wide. 10 of it was opposite the door of the Heichel, and the remaining 22, well, it was also opposite the Heichel. The doorway was only 10, but the Heichel itself with its walls was 32. 11 amas on this side, 11 amas on the other side, gets you exactly opposite, precisely opposite the Heichel's structure. Nimtza Mizbeach mechuvan keneged Heichel v'kisalav. Some add that word, Heichel v'kisalav. Okay, so of the 32 am of the Mizbeach, 10 of it was directly the opposite doorway of the Heichel, and 11 on the other side of that 10 corresponded to the rest of the Heichel structure, which was perfectly opposite the Heichel. Okay? So perhaps we're going like this shita. Mizbeach is right in the middle. Okay, how are we going to explain that Mishnah in Talmud, which tells us that the fire was on that corner, 4 amas off the corner, in order to facilitate directness and to have it directly opposite the Heichel entry. Safe. Okay, but ultimately the math doesn't work. The Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, that in fact the Mizbeach was dead center, Chatzri by Lamesi. If you want to be directly opposite the Heichel's doorway, you have to be 11 amma off the edge, towards the right. Well, again, simple calculation, because if the Mizbeach is right in the middle, Mizbeach was 32, 16 on either side. Now, if we look up at the Heichel's doorway, which was a total of 10, 5 amma on this side of the divider, 5 on the other side. So only 5 amma of that 16 amma section of the Mizbeach was opposite the Heichel. 5 out of the 16. So if you want to start counting from the left side of the Mizbeach, how far do you have to travel to get to that access point? 11 amma. And now you're standing opposite the Heichel. So it's not 4, it's 11. Now, maybe we can give you a discount because if the Ulam qualifies, you don't have to go that far. As long as you're opposite the entry of the Ulam. If the Heichel and the Ulam is one thing, okay, but still, you don't have to travel 11, you have to travel 6. Right, the Ulam is only 5 amma wider on this side, so you're saving yourself. Instead of 11, only 6. But not 4. Why do we speak about 4 being sufficient? The answer is like this. It's really 6. When they said 4, they meant to say, not counting the steps of the Mizbeach, because 32 of the Mizbeach incorporates all the steps and the ledges. We didn't mean the Yesod and the Seviv. We just didn't count that into the number 4. We meant counting from the top surface, the left edge of the top surface of the Mizbeach, not considering the ledge where the Kohanim walk or the Yesod on the bottom. So of course we have to add another 2, which really meant 6 of the far edge of the Mizbeach. So once it's 6, you're good because you're opposite the Ulam. Misavar said, do you think Hanei Arba Amas, when we spoke about the fire being situated 4 Amas off the left edge, we meant we counted also the Yesod and the Seviv. Bahadi Amma Yesod, Bama Seviv, we counted in the Yesod and the Amma of the Seviv. No, Arba Amas, when we spoke about 4 Amas offset, we meant Bar Mama Yesod V'Ama Seviv. We meant you have to count 4 Amas from the top corner of the Mizbeach, right? So you're at the top surface, start from the left, and count 4 Amas. Aside from the ledges on bottom, which actually added another 2 amas. Bar mi am yisod am yisod. So in reality, in terms of the broader configuration, the broader boundary of the Mizbeach, the Mizbeach was 32, but 32 was the far external boundary, starting from the farthest point of the Mizbeach, the Yisod all the way on bottom, which stuck out, which protruded. And in fact, if you're starting from there, it's really 6 amas in, because you have the amma of the Yisod, the amma of the Seviv. Now when you finally get to the top of the Mizbeach, it's another 4 in. So technically it's 6 in. And now you're good, because now you're opposite the entry to the Ulam. Ask the Gemara, okay, it's fine. So we suggested that it's Rabbi Yehuda speaking, and in fact, the Mizbeach was situated in the middle of the Azara, and we worked it out. Why do we have to shift names? Initially, we suggested it was Rabbi Yasi, Mizbeach was totally to the right, and it worked out. We said, no, maybe it's Rabbi Yehuda, it's in the middle. Okay, you wanted to sort of negate that suggestion that Rabbi Yasi holds, you sort of want to challenge that assertion that Rabbi Yasi holds Mizbeach and Safin, who says the mission is going to Rabbi Yasi, maybe it's Rabbi Yehuda, and it's really in the middle. Why can we also say it's Rabbi Yasi and he holds it's in the middle? Why do you have to shift names? Granted, you don't want to concede that Rabbi Yasi holds it's in Safin. Maybe Rabbi Yasi holds it's in the middle. You can say the mission is going to Rabbi Yasi, and he holds it's in the middle. I understand. You don't want to agree that it's in Safin. You wanted to suggest that it's in the middle. It's in the middle, but it's Rabbi Yasi speaking. The answer is because we had an actual opinion stated by Rabbi Yehuda himself. So we know that he holds that it's in the middle. There's no question as to his opinion. So it makes more sense for trying to shift gears from Mizbeach B'Tzafin to Mizbeach B'Emtza to attribute it to Rabbi Yehuda, who's known to have that opinion. Okay, bottom line is like this. We have 2 ways to explain that Mishnah in Talmud, which tells us where would they set up the wood? Where would they set up that atzei te'ena to generate the coals used for the internal Mizbeach, right? Because as we learned, material taken inside has to be taken from the closest point, and we learned from the Gechalim of Yom Kippur, Lefnei Hashem, it has to be opposite Lefnei Hashem, with an unobstructed view to the Heichel, opposite the doorway of the Heichel. So it was on the western southern corner of the Mizbeach. right? Ma'aravis Draimis, but not at the actual corner. They have to be somewhat offset. 4 amos off the corner. How does that work? By way of one or two explanations. Either Mizbeach was in Tzafin, and the point of the Mishnah is simply to say, look, make sure that it's arranged immediately after the 4 amos, not further than that, because once you're going past that, you missed. You're no longer opposite the doorway of the Heichel. Okay, that's one way to learn. Second way was the Mizbeach was in the middle of the Azara. And as long as you're opposite, even the Ulam, you're okay. And really, you should have to count 6 amos off the edge. And we did. Because the Yisayid is 1 amma, the Yisayid is another amma, plus the 4 amma mentioned in the Mishnah. And now you're 6 ammas off the far left side of the Mizbeach. And now you're good because you're right opposite the entry to the Ulam, which qualifies for placement of these coals. Okay, so in a nutshell, we discussed 2 halachas today. One is regarding shchita on the Mizbeach. Rabbi Yossi says it's kosher even for kachim kachim. Rabbi Yossi, however, says no, it's only half and half. This is all based on the pasuk. Zevachim olav es oiler secha v'shlamecha. Rabbi Yossi says the entire Mizbeach is good for the oiler. Rabbi Yossi says only half of it. Oiler secha one side, but the other side is only suitable for shlamecha, not oiler secha. In terms of placement, precise location of the Mizbeach, Rav Asi quotes Rabbi Yechon, and according to Rabbi Yossi, Mizbeach was totally to the right, totally b'tzafin. Reb Zera went out and looked for a source, and he discovered it based on a Mishnah in Maseches Talmud, in terms of the location of the Ma'arach HaShniyah Shel K'tores, which needed to be Lefnei Hashem, 4 amos off the edge. As explained, as Rabbi Yossi explained to us, it needs to be Lefnei Hashem, so it makes sense that this Mishnah is going like Rabbi Yossi as well. And it only works if the Mizbeach was totally on the right of that divider. In which case, the fire, which is 4 amos off the left corner, is still somewhat of Lefnei Hashem, opposite the, it's the last opportunity of Lefnei Hashem. You can still catch some of that door of the Heichel. The second theory was, and in fact, the Mishnah is going like Rabbi Yehuda, who's known to have said that Mizbeach was actually right in the middle of the Azara. And we're going that the Ulam and the Heichel is 1, so opposite the entry to the Ulam also works. And in fact, you need to be 6 amos off that left side of the Mizbeach to catch the Pesach Ulam, and that's exactly what the Mishnah meant. 4 amos plus the Amma Soivev and the Amma Yisayid. Now you're good, you're Lefnei Hashem, and it works. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha.